of Birmingham, they lead a wretched life. The back-to-backs are cramped and damp, the cold cuts like a knife. The lack of decent sanitation, never time for recreation. Surely there's a better life. Is it too much to ask? A warm place to sleep. Is it too much to ask?
Enough food to eat.
Is it too much to ask? Some clothes without holes, some shoes to keep the winter out, and a place that you call home. In the slums and shacks of Birmingham, they struggle every day. The parents sweat to make ends meet, or drink their woes away. The children have no education, roam the streets in desperation. Surely there's a better life. Is it too much to ask?
A warm place to sleep.
Is it too much to ask?
Enough food to eat.
Is it too much to ask? Some clothes without holes, some shoes to keep the winter out, and a place that you call home. Back to back, misery. Back to back, survival. Back to back, poverty. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. Look forward. It isn't too much to ask. A warm place to sleep. It isn't too much to ask. Enough food to eat. It isn't too much to ask. Some clothes without holes, some shoes to keep the winter out, and a place that you call home. Home, home.
Mr. Middlemore, I'm Benjamin Briggs, correspondent for the Birmingham Gazette. It is distressing to observe that Birmingham, in common with many of the great industrial cities of Great Britain, has a problem with many poor children. Poverty and tragedy are sadly ever with us. However, as a benevolent Edgbaston gentleman, you have solved one of the great social problems of our time. Namely, the reclamation of the children of the criminal and most degraded social classes. Mr. Middlemore, if I may ask, what was it that inspired you to establish the children's emigration homes in Highgate?
Well, early in the year 1872, I was approached near my father's house at St James's Road by a ragged little urchin who asked me to give him a copper. I said to him that I could do something much better than that. I could get him to Canada and a new life there. Anyone who has a visitor's acquaintance with the lower districts of Birmingham cannot fail to report that a multitude of children are born and bred in crime, and due to a mere coercion of circumstances, have little other than an idle vagrant and criminal life open to them. A poor idler, as a rule, is a dishonest idler. A poor boy of 15 who has no employment must be dishonest in order to keep himself out of the workhouse. And the same is true of a girl of the same age and class, if there were not a far more terrible life open to her.
And what opportunities can juvenile agencies provide for a better life through emigration to Canada?
Well, a young boy of 10 can help a farmer by driving the cattle to and from pasture. They can also carry water to the men when they're harvesting in the fields. A boy of 12 can harrow, a boy of 13 can cultivate, and a boy of 14 can plough. Birmingham is the worst place for the child of the Birmingham criminal. Let them be taken away. Let them see icebergs. Let them feel seasick. Let them learn to talk through their noses of dollars and cents. Let them have their whole life turned upside down. For the new world is, in the fullest sense of the word, a new world to them.
Indeed, your institution has enabled the rescue from the gutter, or more frequently from the haunts of vice, dishonesty, debauchery, filth and ignorance, no fewer than 400 incipient criminals. Your venture has attracted wide support from the people of Birmingham, and if I may add, a moral education, regular employment, and healthy air will be a blessing as these children start their new life in the sunlit prairies and virgin forests of Canada.
Thank you. Mrs. Dean, Miss Chance, so kind of you to visit us this afternoon.
Oh, none of us minds a little hard work in such a good cause, Mr. Middlemore. My church group have been working hard for you.
And our sewing circle is very pleased to support the cause. These dear little children need all our help. It's our Christian duty.
Well, they're all doing very well in the homes, they're absolutely thriving, and they're all looking forward to their big adventure.
Oh, it's so hard to imagine, Mr. Middlemore, halfway across the world to a new country. Wild too, I believe. but I mean, the children have come from such terrible lives that you... Now, Mr. Middlemore, we have, in here, there are 104 pinafores and 57 pillowcases.
And we have made 80 hoods for the Atlantic crossing and a great many unmentionables of certain kinds. But I've written it all down for the annual report.
Oh, yes.
Because I know you want to count it all
Oh,
yourself.
I don't think that will be necessary. It'll take some time to do that. I'm sure your figures are correct. Now, please give our thanks to your ladies for all their hard work.
Well, Mr. Middlemore, there is just one thing. The annual report, and we know that you like to mention people who've given donations, because we've had a mention, haven't we? If you read next annual report, would you mind giving a special mention to Mrs. Becken? Mrs. Becken. She has knitted 154 pairs of boys' socks entirely on her own.
Well, what a remarkable feat, if you'll pardon the pun.
Mr. Middlemore,
Excuse me, Mrs. Holland, is it? My name is John Middlemore. Two of your boys called at St Luke's Road last night asking for admission. May I come in?
Not surprised. You may as well come in, but there's not much left of my home now, as you can see.
What has happened?
My husband's what happened. He abandoned me 7 months ago, leaving me here with 5 children. And then he comes back, but there's a warrant out for his arrest for neglecting his family. He's a drunkard, he is.
My goodness, how are you managing?
I do a fair bit of washing and cleaning. I have a fair bit of washing at home as well, bringing about 8 shillings a week, and my 2 eldest boys, well, they bring in about 10 shillings a week.
Well, that's not enough to keep body and soul together.
Well, as you can see, we have pawned and sold nearly everything we own, but then the bailiffs came. We only owed 2 weeks' rent, but the landlord called them and they took the rest of the furniture.
And how are the children?
Well, my eldest daughter, she's married, so... But there's still 4 of them with me under here. Amelia, she's only 8, and Ernest, my youngest, he's only 6.
It was Oscar and Alfred who called round on us.
It's Oscar and Alfred I'm most worried about. It breaks my heart, Mr. Middlemore. They're wearing rags. Their shoes are tied together with string, and they're good boys. They are, Mr. Middlemore, but they're just coming in with bad company. They stopped out the last 2 nights somewhere in Crete.
Well, would you like us to take them into the homes? We could send them to Canada and they could have a better life there. I believe a cousin of theirs came through last year.
I don't know what other choice there is. It's the workhouse for me, and I don't want the same for them. When will they leave for Canada?
Well, we've just sent one party, so it wouldn't be until next year. Probably May. You could visit them until they leave.
I just want what's best for them.
We all want what's best for them. Shall I take them now?
My name is Fanny Orcock, and I'm the matron at one of the homes Mr. Middlemore ran for the homeless and orphaned children, and those whose families could not afford to take care of them. I have seen some awful sights in my life, but never before had my heart broken at the sight of the children that came into the home. To think of these poor souls having to fend for themselves by begging and stealing and trying to find shelter in all weathers is incomprehensible. It is truly amazing that they survived, though their clothes not so much. The boys and girls that came into the homes were taken straight to the bathroom to be washed in a warm bath. Most of the children looked as if they had never seen a bath, let alone had one. So it was quite an experience for them to be scrubbed with soap and water. Often we had to give several baths to some of the children when the dirt and grime was really ingrained over the years on their bodies. The children had to have their heads shaved as well to get rid of the lice and ringworm. Next, the children were taken to the storeroom where they were kitted out with new clothes. We were very grateful to all the different organisations and ordinary people and families who raised money from street collections and regular bazaars. In the homes, the children were educated in the ways of discipline and responsibility in readiness for the move to Canada. To help with this, some of the children were allowed pet rabbits. Children of school age were sent to school, and on Sundays the children attended Sunday school. Before every meal, the children would say grace in thanks for all they had received. And this continued into their life in Canada. Those words were, "Be present at our table, Lord. Be here and everywhere adored. These mercies bless and grant that we may feast in paradise with thee."
Generally, we took one party of children a year. To start with, this was about 20, but gradually it grew to become 150. The journey took about 2 weeks.
Children doing today?
They're a bit quiet today, wondering when we were going to get to Canada.
Ah, it's only natural. Most of them have never even seen the sea, let alone a ship like this. Some still think it's going to sink.
Excuse me,
Yes?
I saw you earlier with a whole lot of children. And what are they doing in this ship? They can't all be your own children, can they?
Well, in a way they are. They are under my care. I'm the matron of a home where these children have been living for the last 6 months in England. Some, most orphaned or abandoned, though some have come from families that couldn't afford to take care of them.
So what's the reason for them being on this ship? You know this ship's going to Canada. Yeah.
Yes, of course I do.
So why are you taking them there?
Well, thanks to a gentleman named John Middlemore, we're taking them to start a new life in the new world.
Oh, had enough of them, have you? You're farming them off to some other country, I shouldn't wonder. Slave labour, eh?
No, these children are going to be placed with families who will look after them and give them a good life.
Oh, so the Canadian government's paying for their education as well. Have you run out of workhouses and orphanages at home? Is that what it is?
No, not quite. These children are going to be given homes by families that have agreed to look after them and give them a good life.
I haven't seen them up on deck very much. There's nothing wrong with them, is there?
Oh, good Lord, no. It's just that they're seasick. Some of them very much so. The rough sea hasn't been very kind to their poor little stomachs.
Now the sea's calm, they have been able to eat a little bit more, and now I feel a little bit better. Ah yes, my husband suffered terribly from the seasickness. I think it's worse, the motion's worse when you're in the steerage compartment. Oh, terrible, terrible. Anyway, yeah, so are you sure that what you're doing is legal?
It is legal. Mr. Middlemore has arranged all this with the Canadian government. Some of the children have had a great upheaval in their short lives. Naturally, they are upset and sad, but there is nothing illegal going on. I can tell you, it's equally as hard for those who have been left behind.
Yeah. Oh, it's difficult times for everybody, isn't it? Difficult times for everybody. It's very hard when you have to leave what you've been used to and start afresh in a new country.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Well, you could say that. But I'm lucky because we've got family, friends and relations in Canada. So many of our Irish people moved there after the potato famine. That was a terrible curse in our country, so it was.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Ah well, things can't stay the same forever. So I'll leave you to look after the children, and God bless you all.
Thank you. You know what the hardest part of this journey is? It's keeping the children occupied. I hope we don't run into any delays. The last journey got held up by icebergs.
Well, hopefully we won't bump into any icebergs this time. And as for the children, I think they'll be occupied enough. It looks as though the sailors have taken quite a shine to them.
Oh.
They've given them ropes for skipping and they've made a swing.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's pray for safe passage, smooth waters,
and good weather for the rest of our journey.
We placed the children with farmers as we found they did better in a rural setting, and generally the farmers were glad of an extra pair of hands around the place.
My dear sir, I am getting along very well indeed. I am on a farm and I have to feed the pigs, and feed the hogs, and fetch the cows, and clean the stable, and load dung and load wheat, and I am only a little boy. I am a good scholar in reading and sums and dictation. I go to Sunday school and I go to church, and I am a very good boy. God bless you, William.
Dear Mr. Ray, I received your letter wanting to know what the trouble is between Mrs. Stone and myself. Well, I am 16 now, and we cannot agree. She is not good to me. Mr. Stone has always treated me considerate and kindly, but Mrs. Stone has always been bad-tempered, at times very harsh and severe, continually nagging and scolding. She threw me out and threw my clothes after me. I think she may have had too much to drink. I am well and strong, and I am old enough to earn my own living. I have a job at the lobster factory. I go to church every week and I'm in the mission band. I'm glad to hear from you, as I feel you are my friend. Yours truly, Ellen Robinson.
Dear sir, I thought I would write a few lines to let you know how I'm getting along. We had a snowstorm this morning, and the weather bids fair for rainstorm this afternoon. The snow is about 2 feet thick, and it begins to feel like winter. The river is frozen over, and the ice will allow a pair of horses when loaded. There was a good deal of skating this year. Mr. and Mrs. Blaney are kind to me and treat me well. Wishing you all the happiness, I remain yours, truly, Oscar Holland.
Dear Sir, I came to Canada in 1906. Can you please tell me where I write concerning my relatives? I must have some living in England. I wish to get in touch with them and write to them, if they care to write to me. I remain yours sincerely, Amy French.
Oh, there you are, boy. I've been looking all over for you. Thought as maybe you'd run away again.
Here I am, Farmer Rath, and I'm not about to go running off again. I'm content.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to see you settling in at last. Anyway, I got 2 things I want to say to you.
And what are those 2 things, Farmer Rath?
Number 1, you've been smoking again.
I won't tell a lie, Farmer Rath. I have been. But I'm 14 now, and all the boys my age smoke, so...
Not on my farm, they don't. It ain't good for you no matter what they say. It ain't manly, and it ain't righteous. Makes you look like a no-good layabout. And besides, you could burn down my barn with those cigarettes. I want you to take a good listen to what I'm saying to you, son.
I will, Farmer Rath.
Okay.
Now, what was the second thing?
Well, number 2, where's your bucket?
It's in the yard.
Well, go get it, fill it with some grain, feed the chickens, and come back here when you're done.
Yes, Farmer Rath.
Have you spoken to him about the smoking?
I've just done it just now. You know, I think he's really taking it all in. I could see his ears popping out.
Oh, thank goodness for that. He's a good lad in many ways, but that smoking is terrible.
Well,
I think it's a danger.
I don't think we need to worry about it anymore.
Here I am, Farmer Rath. I've fed the chickens, and now I've got 2 things to say to you.
Oh, is that a fact? And what might they be?
Number 1, I've really thought long and hard about what you've said, and I've decided to give up smoking.
Well, Alfred, I'm mighty pleased to hear that. Seems like all those things I've been saying to you are finally sinking in. Now, what was the other thing you wanted to say?
Just wondering if you had any more buckets at all.
More buckets? Why do you need more buckets?
Well, Farmer Rath, because your barn is on fire.
Why, you little... Order, order.
What an audience. I'm Ed Shepherd, editor of the Toronto Globe. And I call this house, or hoose, to order. This meeting's concerned with the evil plague of assisted emigration, the immigration of paupers, the settlement of poor children, poor health, poor morals, bringing disease, a criminal spirit, and social degradation to our proud country.
Sir, if I may, I represent the Eugenic Society of Canada, and we are well aware of the dangers of unlimited immigration. I propose that we limit numbers by medical inspection at the ports, and the diseased, feeble-minded and illiterate should be sent back to their countries of origin.
Good point. Well spoken. Canada wants increased population, but we cannot thank the people of Great Britain for sending the inmates of its prisons and poorhouses to our shores. The criminal, the diseased, the pauperised are not wanted.
See, these imported paupers, they're a plague upon the moral life of our community. They are infecting our society, this evil element.
Well said, a true patriot.
Yes.
We have more than enough of these classes already. These street urchins are the offspring of diseased parents. And spread disease. Consumption is common. We must ask ourselves, are these the type of people born in the gutter who we would wish to breed with our own children?
I am Dr.
Way
from Toronto. And I have a great deal to do with bringing children into this country this way, particularly from the expanding cities of London and Birmingham. And I have yet to see any signs of the social degeneration and illnesses that you mentioned.
Looking.
Well, I know many of these children, home children. They are growing up to be active young men and young women. There is no sign of disease, and they are becoming hard-working, honest, responsible citizens of this country of Canada.
Now look, these emigration societies call themselves philanthropists, but they're nothing but can-rattling do-gooders, and what's more, they are profiting from child immigration. Profiting!
No.
Truly spoken, madam, like a true Canadian patriot. These orphans are a burden on hard-working, true-born Canadians. We must ask ourselves, and our politicians, how we will get quit of this underclass. Once they're established in our land, they'll take full possession of our country. Hear me out. Canada is a strong and healthy nation. We need to stop this wave of inferior classes, bringing a plague of bad blood, spreading through our land. Canada needs to stop pauper immigration now.
Yes, now.
We at first received a warm welcome in London, Ontario, and we established a receiving home there for the children. But gradually the climate of opinion turned against assisted child migration, and there were those unjustified protests. So we turned our attention to the maritime provinces, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and we established another receiving home there in Halifax. And we were fortunate to appoint as manager a Mr. William Ray, who we'd taken to Canada when he was a boy.
My name is William Shaw Ray. I'm a former Middlemore boy, and together with my younger brother Frank, emigrated to Canada. He in 1889 and me in 1890. Our parents had died quite young, and we then lived with our grandparents for a few years. However, by the time I was 12 or 13, they were quite old and were having difficulty looking after us. So they felt they had no option but to send us both to the Middlemore homes. Not long afterwards, in 1889, when he was about 9 years old, Frank left for Canada to start a new life. Our grandparents signed the necessary agreements, and he was soon on his way. I missed him terribly. We managed to buy 2 adjoining farms in 1899 and shared the one team of horses to farm 160 acres. During the next year, 1900, I married Ellen Pringle, and we went on to have 2 sons, Gordon and Eldon, as well as taking in 2 Middlemore boys. Eventually, we sold the farms, and both Frank and I became insurance agents. Me for just under 2 years, and Frank for his working life. He was eventually appointed head office inspector for the province of Ontario in the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, a position which he kept for 12 years. I resigned my position in the insurance company to accept Middlemore's offer to become Home Superintendent at Halifax with my wife as matron. We thoroughly enjoyed our work at Halifax, and in true Middlemore tradition, we instilled in the children strong Christian principles. Alan, you know we're going to see another journalist today. Now, they keep looking for horrible worse stories.
Oh, yes.
Now, so we've got to be careful in what we say.
Yes, William. Yes, I see. Yes.
So, not too much information.
But we have to be honest, William.
Well, I'm not saying that we cover anything up, but what I want to do is to emphasise the success stories.
Yes, William. Yes, I see.
Excuse me. Oh, good afternoon. Ed Shepherd, Toronto Globe. I'm delighted you've agreed to be interviewed, Mr. Ray. I'd like to ask about your role at the Halifax Receiving Home. I believe it is part of the Middlemore scheme.
Yes, indeed. I'm the manager there, and this is my wife Ellen, who is matron.
So maybe you could help inform our readers and explain how the children are allocated to the farms.
Well, we advertise for families willing to take children, but the work involved in sorting out the applications is tremendously hard.
And when the children first arrive, they usually come to the homes in Halifax first, until they get settled with their families.
Yeah.
How do you know that the placements are suitable?
Well, they're all suggested and recommended by the local minister.
And they have an inspection visit once a year.
Once a year? Cannot believe that is sufficient. How do you know they might be ill-treated?
Well, the children are so scattered that it takes great long journeys to go to see them, starting often by train and ending up by horse and buggy. But if the children are unhappy, we send them home, back to England.
And the farmers themselves send the children back sometimes.
And what happens to them then?
Well, we find them new placements. I mean, actually, one girl we had went to 8 different families.
How many? Well, I've heard a lot about unsatisfactory children. What are the main problems?
Well, most of them thrive and do successful lives, and many of them stay here. And some boys actually run away, but they do come back, and they seem to get on quite well.
And there's a few sickly children sometimes.
Yes. True. With the sickly children, we send them back to England.
Yes, and there's the pregnant girls.
Pregnant girls? What happens to them?
I don't think we need to go into this. I'm sure your readers don't want to know about those poor unfortunate girls.
I think they certainly would.
No. I can't deal with this. I don't think we should deal with this.
Mrs. Ray?
Well, a few of the girls do manage to keep their babies, but most of them are given to the Salvation Army for adoption, and it's so sad.
Well, you know what these young girls are like. They lead the men on. It's their fault, really.
Well, not really. The girls tell me they often have little choice in the matter. And anyway, there has to be a man involved somewhere, doesn't there?
Well, see, that's all very interesting. So you're saying it's the men's fault?
Well, I mean, some of the girls tell me that it might be the farmer's son or the hired man who got them pregnant, and we're supposed to get them to pay something towards the costs. Well, that's like getting blood out of a stone. I mean, they usually completely deny responsibility.
That's all very interesting.
Yeah, but these cases are very few and far between. Most of the girls settle down, they get married.
Yes.
And in fact, a lot of the boys now have their own farms.
Yes.
And they're having their own families too, and they're growing up into fine Canadian citizens.
Well said, William, well said.
Please put that in your paper.
Yes, put that in your paper, Mr. Shepherd.
Good afternoon. This is Bailey, I believe.
Yeah, quite so.
Well, I'm here on the inspection to concerning the young Mary Ann Williams.
Oh, yes.
Who I believe you've almost adopted.
Yes.
Right, can I ask a few questions that are on my list? Is she in good health?
Yes.
Okay. Does she go to school or Sunday school?
Well, mostly, but it's a long way and sometimes the weather is not too good.
Or what about conduct?
Oh, well, no, that's the question. We like her well enough, but she's forever telling lies. She makes up stories about herself and about us all the time.
Is this true, Mary Ann? Surely you know it's wicked to tell a lie.
Oh, I do know that, Mr. Ray. It's just, I like to imagine where I might be from, since as I don't rightly know my family.
Well, I can tell you right now, girl, you're not related to the King of England, and your mother was not a film star.
I am sorry, I get so sad, and I like to think of these stories.
Well, you're going to stop telling lies, are you? Yeah. Well, I'm very pleased to hear it. I just will not stand for these lies. You should hear the things she's saying to people, to the local folk. Now, at the Sunday school, she told the folks that I was seeing another man, and that was the only reason I was going to church. I ask you, I'm an honest, hard-working woman. You can imagine how I felt.
Mrs. Bailey, I'm most distressed at hearing this. I will remove Mary Ann immediately and place her somewhere else. Mary Ann, pack your bags.
Oh no, please!
No, you can't do that. No, she must stay. I mean, what will they do without her? Oh, maybe I spoke a bit quick.
Please let me stay, Mr. Ray. I will try and be better. I really didn't mean any harm.
Come here, Mary Ann. Yeah. Her place is here, Mr. Ray. She must stay.
Now, this is a change of tune. Oh, right, Mrs. Mary Ann, you can stay. But please promise me one thing. No more lies.
I promise. But could you just do one thing? Could you check who I am related to in England? Because I am sure it's someone famous.
Hello, Fiona. Good to see you. How are things?
Good. But a lot better since I've had that child from England. She does help me out such a lot.
Well, lucky you. The home lad I've had ain't nothing but trouble. He's got a temper like a furnace. He don't do what I ask. And when I make complaint, he runs away.
Yeah, mate.
I've beaten him, you know. Don't make any difference. I'm sending him back.
It's not just the boys who cause trouble, though. That girl I've got, well, she was all right to begin with, but then she turned 13 and she got so saucy and restless. She wanted to be seeing the boys at all.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, it's only natural they want a life of their own. I've never had any trouble with my Emily, and she's nearly 16 now. She plays the organ in church and takes a Sunday school class. I blame the people they're placed with.
I agree. I've adopted my lad. In fact, he's hard-working, he's sensible, he's more or less like my son. And in fact, he's the top of he's first in the county for horse riding. And in fact, I'm aiming to give him my farm.
Well, I'm just waiting till that inspector comes back and I'm going to tell him straight what that girl is like. Disobedient, disrespectful, dismaying. He'll have to sort it out.
Now, hold on there, folks, hold on. If you've got a troublesome child, we'll remove them. There's no sense going on like that. My own husband was a Middlemore boy, and they're all different. He's become manager of the home at Halifax. They're all different.
He says emigration was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Are you talking about them English children?
Yeah. Yes.
I can beat all your stories. The first girl I had, she tried to poison me. She made me a drink and it smelt funny. Well, you know, she put carbolic soap in it.
Oh.
Dear. Well, she's gone, of course, and turns out she went somewhere else, got pregnant, had a miscarriage, and now she's back in England.
I'm sure they're not all like that.
Well, maybe. I've got another girl now. She seems okay. I keep a firm hand though. I suppose it's just pot luck.
But pot luck for them too.
If you feed them well enough, they're never going to shirk. And if you give them time to play, they won't resent their work. But if you beat them out or rough, they'll get you back someday. Might even burn your bonds down, or try to run away, run away. 'Cause some are good as gold, and some just won't be told. It's the same all over the world. From Birmingham to Canada, from Erdington to Alberta, some good as gold, some won't be told. It's the same all over the world. Give them love, they'll love you back, although they'll miss their homes. Remember, they're just little children in a land unknown. But when they reach their teenage years, just watch them like a hawk. 'Cause if your girl's in the family way, it's time for her to walk, time to walk. 'Cause some are good as gold, and some just won't be told. It's the same all over the world. From Birmingham to Canada, from Erdington to Alberta, some good as gold, some won't be told. It's the same all over the world.
If you set a good example, they will never go astray. All my wards are little angels, that is all I'm going to say.
Well, really, Mrs. Jenkinson, I wish I could agree. But which of your young angels put that poison in your tea?
In your tea. 'Cause some are good as gold, and some just won't be told. It's the same all over the world. From Birmingham to Canada, from Erdington to Alberta, some good as gold, some won't be told. It's the same. From Birmingham to Canada, from Erdington to Alberta, some good as gold, some won't be told. It's the same all over the world.
My name is Paul Cadbury. I took over the leadership of the homes when Sir John Middlemore died a few years ago. Our first homes in St Luke's Road were purpose-built, but we outgrew them within around 20 years. They were in a crowded and densely populated area. We began fundraising for our new country home in the year 1900. We had a wonderful response from the people of Birmingham. Our appeal raised over £18,000, and now we are surrounded by open countryside in Selly Oak. with room to grow vegetables, keep chickens. We even have a pony and 2 donkeys. Meanwhile, there were increasing tensions in Canada over the principle of child migration. We had settled many thousands of children successfully in Canada, and we believe this was for the benefit of both the children themselves and our empire. We were extremely disappointed in 1925 when Canada announced a ban on child immigrants below the age of 14. This was a bitter blow. We always found children at around the ages of 8 or 9 years settled the best. After much discussion, I made an approach to the Fairbridge Society, who had established farm schools in Australia for children of all ages and not just the under 14s. This was a different model for us. Previously, our children had been settled with families when they emigrated. The farm schools were institutions providing schooling and farm experience all on one site. But it was the answer for us. We believe emigration gives children a better chance in life. I am proud to say that in 1926 our first Middlemore boys went off to Pinjarra in Australia. More followed, and we expect more to follow in years to come. It was a great joy to us when Fairbridge succeeded in opening the Prince of Wales Farm School in British Columbia in Canada this year, 1935. This has been approved by the Canadian authorities, so we are now able to send some of our children there. I believe it is a marvellous opportunity for them. Thank you.
Superintendent of Neglected Children and have been appointed to investigate and report on your homes. I will need to ask some questions.
Of course.
I understand that the children have a school here as well as accommodation. Can you tell me what a farm school is, please?
Yes, indeed. We accept children from the most deprived backgrounds in England to give them a new chance in life. We have a school here on site, and the children help to run the farm as well. All their needs are catered for. They live in cottages of about 15 children, each with a cottage mother. Miss Choke, Miss Blake, and Miss Welsh are here to speak to you.
Good. Miss Choke, are the children happy?
Well, on the whole, they're well behaved, but of course they have their duties there in the house and on the farm. But I find that they do respond to a fair set of rules. But then, all children are naughty, aren't they?
Well, my house is a happy home. My children are developing well and there are no issues. I am, however, concerned with stories about the harsh treatment of children in the other homes.
And you, Miss Walsh, could you tell me your experience?
Well, my boys are really unruly. They never give me a moment's peace. They only respond to punishment and a firm hand. I have some that are bedwetters, but I have my methods to discourage that.
Mr. Gray?
Creates more washing. But that's, what can you expect when you know where they come from?
Mr. Gray, sorry, why is such a different picture presented here?
We believe in giving the cottage mothers a free hand. It's more like living with real families.
And do brothers and sisters see each other?
Oh, we have to keep the boys and girls separate for obvious reasons.
And do you require cottage mothers to have training and education about child rearing methods?
Well, yes, but we have a lot of trouble with recruitment, and sometimes we have to settle for less qualified staff.
Okay, so who can the children turn to if they are unhappy?
The cottage mothers, of course.
Oh, I see. I think these children need more love and understanding. They have already lost their birth families and indeed their siblings. We have heard reports that some of the children are badly treated. I will need to conduct some more interviews. You're Marjorie, aren't you? Marjorie, I understand you were admitted to the Fairbridge School in 1937. Did you have an enjoyable experience?
Well, I arrived there just after my 11th birthday, and I have to say the Fairbridge years were the most miserable of my life. We were ruled by bells, and rules governed our lives.
Oh dear. What stands out in your memory?
Leaving my family behind was the worst. My eldest sister stayed back in England. My younger brother came over, but he had to go to the boys' cottage separate from me, and he was bullied. When my younger sister Audrey came over, they wouldn't let me look after her. One night, while she was crying, I went to comfort her, but I got into such big trouble with our extra chores in the farm and the cottages.
Oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that. What was the food like?
Boring. Porridge every day, while the cottage mother would sit at the same table with us with eggs and bacon.
Thank you, Marjorie. My report. The children are much too isolated within this institution, not being able to mingle with ordinary Canadian families. The cottage mothers have too much power over the younger children, who they discipline as they please. They scream and shout at them constantly, and they lack sensitivity to the emotional needs of these children. The present standard of food and clothing should be improved, but above all, it is a necessity to employ trained and experienced staff.
We're all as good as hair. English, Welsh and Scottish, we have come from everywhere. The boys will be the farmers and the girls the farmers' wives. So follow Fairbridge the founder. Hurrah, hurrah, we're Fairbridge through and through. Hurrah, hurrah, we try to show we're true. Do as Kingsley Fairbridge did before him evil flew. Follow Fairbridge the founder. We have a resolution and we'll never let it down. We honor will be faithful to our God, our King and Crown. We take away from evil as we try to stamp it down. And follow Fairbridge the founder. Hurrah, hurrah, we're Fairbridge through and through. Hurrah, hurrah, we try to show we're true. Do as Kingsley Fairbridge did before him evil flew. Follow Fairbridge the founder. We try to learn the bush custom with open eye and ear. We try to show our courage and we cover up our fear. We have a splendid motto to which everyone adheres. And follow Fairbridge the founder. Hurrah, hurrah, with Fairbridge through and through. Hurrah, hurrah, we try to show we're true. Do as Kingsley Fairbridge did before him evil flew. And follow Fairbridge the founder. Follow Fairbridge the founder.
G'day, I'm Billy Valesti, journo on the Sydney Citizen. Now I've got some information I'd like to share with you. First, the good news. In 1926, the authorities and the children's homes stopped sending poor and destitute children to Canada. But they decided to send us instead, loading up on ships, thousands of them. Now I say things as I see them. And as I see it, it's the great advantage of Great Britain to rid itself of its population of homeless children. First they send us their convicts, and then they send us their sprogs. That's what the Empire means to them limeys. Thanks, mate, just send us your trash. No one with two eyes in their head will claim these backstreet kids as desirable citizens, living in farms in the outback, with more than a few rumours of unsavoury shenanigans. What use are they? A blooming blight to the country, as much use as a kangaroo with a wooden leg. As I see it, there is one solution. That's to keep the bloody English out of Australia.
Hello there, Mr. Cadbury. I believe you have something you'd like to say to us?
Yes, indeed. My name is Paul Cadbury. For the last 82 years, the Middlemore homes have rescued deprived children and given them a new start in the dominions overseas. In 1948, we welcomed the new Children's Act, because better provision was to be made for children. The Fairbridge Farm School in Canada closed that year, so our emigration to Canada then ceased. However, there was still a need for our services, and we continued to send children to Australia in partnership with Fairbridge and the Northcote School. The time has now come, however, in this year, 1954, for us to cease the emigration of children. Instead, we would turn our attention to supporting deprived children within their own family settings. We are proud of what we've achieved and believe that we have brought a huge benefit to the children that we took overseas. And of course, we have done our best for them and for the Empire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cadbury.
In 2010, Gordon Brown issued the following apology. To all those former child migrants and their families, I say today that we are truly sorry. They were let down. We are truly sorry they were allowed to be sent away at the time when they were most vulnerable. We are sorry that instead of caring for them, this country turned its back. And we are sorry that the voices of these children were not always heard and their cries for help not always heeded.
Canada, a land of promise, Canada.
behind. What makes you think they're wanted here, the dregs of England's poor? Why should we support the ones you've ousted from your door? Opinion is divided, truth is double-sided. What is wrong and what is right? If only life were black and white. Where are they going? So far from home. What awaits them? A fate unknown. Who will meet them? What will greet them? Where are they going? So far from home. They once were cold with ragged clothes and not enough to eat, but now they have a loving home with food and drink and meat. But families are torn apart, identities are lost, unsettled and uprooted. Is it really worth the cost? Opinion is divided, truth is double-sided. What is wrong and what is right? If only life were black and white. Canada, a land of promise. Canada is where the hope is. Canada, new life begins in Where are they, Canada? So far from home, land of promise awaits Canada. The fate unknown is where the home will meet Canada. What will life take in? Where are they going? So far from home. Where are they going? So far from home. Land of promise awaits Canada. The fate unknown is where the home will meet Canada. What will life take in? Where are they going? So far from home. Where are they going? So It's only the illusion of bullshit. Real people.
Just